12s, and welcome to the Seahawks 360 podcast, collabing with Seahawks Talk with Joe Stevens, and we are here to talk Hawks with you guys. We are going to start off, I guess we'll revamp. It's been a minute since Joe and I talked, so we'll catch up on all things Seahawks, talk about the state of the Seahawks in general, as well as previewing this upcoming game against the Ravens. The Rams.
No, not the Ravens again.
You know what? I don't know what's worse. Those are the games that got the most embarrassed. The Rams and the Ravens were the most embarrassing games of the season, like by far, not even close.
Yeah.
So anyway, Joe, where's your head at on the team? You said you just rewatched the game from before. How are you feeling about, I guess, the upcoming game and about the team in general as a contender?
The Ravens game was definitely a reality check when it comes to being a contender. They hung in there. I wasn't too mad about the Bengals game. You know, obviously it was rough. The red zone offense was absolutely terrible.
Yep.
But last game, I'd say it shouldn't have been as close as the score was.
Yeah, for sure. And they had a bounce back game, against the Commanders, but I would have been in panic mode had they not won that game. They needed to win that game. But the Ravens game really was you just look like you were in a different class. You weren't in the same class as the Ravens. And they are a really good team. I think they're honestly underrated. I think they really might be one of the best teams in football at this point, just in terms of their balance and their offense, defense. Yeah. They got it going in ways that looking at their roster, I don't understand, to be honest.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way. Let's get the Ravens game out of the way, because that's the one that I the least want to talk about because it was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, we saw ourselves in the mirror and it didn't look pretty.
Yeah, and it was a lot of people. So we were talking before the show. I don't know. That was people wanted to bench Geno that game, but I don't know if I'd blame that on Geno, the offensive line, the defensive line. It was just terrible throughout. I mean, it sucked.
It did suck. I was team bench Geno that game because of the turnovers, right? And so my thing with Geno, and while I've always been an advocate for arguing Geno over Drew Lock under any circumstance, just because I'm Pete Carroll doesn't like turnovers. He really, that's critical to him. You must take care of the ball. And Drew Lock isn't that guy. I mean, he's got more upside, but he's not that guy. But if you're just going to throw picks left and right, Geno was just throwing interceptions left and right. And I do know it wasn't all his fault, but my thing with Geno, especially in that game, was, okay, the pressure's coming. Got to get rid of the ball, dude. You just can't keep holding on to the ball. Whenever he wasn't taking a huge sack, it was a turnover of some kind. It was always some kind of negative play. They couldn't get anything going offensively. And I think, honestly, defensively, they held up pretty well early on.
Yeah,
but
until,
broke.
The time of possession, I was looking at that after the game. It was 41-19.
Yeah.
And the defense gets tired.
Yeah.
And they can't just be on the field. Realistically, our offensive drive for 1 minute, it felt like. Right. So when that defense is on the field for 10 minutes and the offense is on the field for 1 minute, they got nothing going. I mean,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, a lot of people, pointed to the defense in that particular game, and I'm just I saw them play hard early on. In fact, I saw them not only play hard, I saw them get a couple turnovers and then the offense not be able to do anything with it. And I think that kind of broke their spirit. I mean, that's frustrating. You keep getting opportunities for your offense and they can't do anything with it. I really don't think they were as locked in as that game went on. And part of it was mental. Part of it, I'm sure, was them being tired. But then they just got boat raced. And so it was ugly from there. But I agree with you. I don't want to spend too much time talking about that game.
Well, there was one thing that there wasn't a lot of positives, but one thing that people were talking about after the game I remember seeing was when Jamal Adams and Devin Witherspoon were fighting on the sideline or arguing a little bit on the sidelines. I was totally happy with that. You know what? Because they still cared.
Yeah.
A lot of teams, if you suck and you suck, people aren't going to care. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
whatever. Those two guys together, the energy that they have, I think is really good for our team. So
I agree. And you saw, and that carried over. They were able to, I'm not going to say put together a complete game. It wasn't the get right game you'd love to see from a top contender, I think, against the Commanders last game, but you saw flashes of great things from both sides. I think the defense really shined in the first half and the offense looked dreadful. And then the defense looked terrible in the second half. And then the offense was amazing. So progress?
I wouldn't go that far. So one thing I did notice, especially while rewatching it, is that the few big chunk plays that they did have was just like, it was like Mafe guarding Gibson or Robinson in the flat, and then like darting towards the quarterback, and then not make it. I think either Gibson or Robinson had a receiving one of the running backs had a receiving touchdown. And they have Bobby Wagner trying to chase him basically all the way across the field. It's like, dude, that's like a 24-year-old fast running back. Bobby's not going to be able to catch up with him. The defense as a whole was not bad. It was just those couple chunk plays that honestly seemed like mental mistakes more than bad play.
I agree. I don't think that the mistakes in that particular game carry over. I watched a good portion of the film breakdown on those defensive plays from Matty F. Brown. Just I was curious as to like what he saw on the defense, and it pretty much was just I think there was some kind of misunderstanding that week about what the edge is supposed to do. Like if the quarterback breaks the scramble, it's like in most situations the quarterback breaks the scramble and the edge is trained to like. I think just even by default, just to like go stop that without completely thinking about that there's a dude like behind you. That's like
Brian Robinson, he had two. So there was a big one that was the touchdown in the first quarter. And then it might have been the second drive. There was another one where he got behind Draymond Jones.
Yep.
So it was Mafe on the first one and Jones on the second one.
It was the exact same type of play too. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Not too negative after that game though. I think Geno struggled in the first half accuracy-wise, and then he had the second half that you'd want to see. I'm happy it's not flip-flopped. So yeah,
for sure. You'd always rather have a stronger second half than first, but I will say this. I am extremely concerned about this offense. Like, I feel like the ceiling is so low on the offense. It's so the opposite of what I thought it would be. Like on paper, this offense should be explosive, and they can't be. And I understand that part of that has been the offensive line, but like Geno's looked worse with a healthier O-line. To be honest, he looked better with worse guys blocking. Yeah. And so I find that to be of real concern. I find his accuracy to be a concern because, again, for my mind, I think we talked about this before we hopped on, but like top two things. Geno's going to take care of the ball. Geno's going to be more accurate than Drew Lock, even on your basic mundane throws. And so that's always made him the starter clearly to me. Those things are regressing to the point where I'm not a Drew Lock fan at all, but like the gap is getting smaller and smaller because he continues to look more and more inaccurate. It continues to, like, I'm even questioning his decision making sometimes. Like, was that the best direction to go with the ball? He doesn't have the same pocket presence. He used to have great pocket presence. His ability to just step into the pocket, to shift, to navigate, to know when to scramble, to know when to stay. It just seems gone. Like,
and even at the beginning of the season, he was having great pocket presence. Like that Lions game was one that I'd turn on and just be like, this is what you're supposed to do. Now, there was a few times last game where it seems like that was back. But then again, they just traded away Chase Young and Montez Sweat, so they don't have the same guys coming after them.
No, it's not nearly the same type of pressure. So, while I'm happy he was able to put it off in the second half, you have to look at your competition and go, if you struggled against them, I would have loved to see consistency against that level of a defense. If you can't be consistent against that level of defense, I'm concerned about what you're going to look like when we go up against, we got a gauntlet coming up after this Rams game.
Yeah.
It's a gauntlet. And I'm afraid Geno's going to get killed.
Well, the Rams aren't pushovers either. I know they're 3-6, but they've given us trouble throughout the years. And I know, especially with McVay coaching, but even before McVay coaching, it's just those Rams always give us problems. So it's like, who knows? But
yeah,
I think this is a must-win game.
On the Rams thing, it's a good question from David. Shout out to you. On the Rams thing, like I would say I'm more worried about our defense versus their offense, because that's really where Sean McVay has really owned the Seahawks. Mm-hmm. I think offensively, like they've been able to navigate, right? So like I don't think defensively they've been able to shut down the Seahawks. They've just been so good at having an explosive offense that like nothing else matters, because we look silly. We look silly on defense, and like it doesn't matter how many points the offense gets, because and then there's Aaron Donald.
We did score 9 points. We did. What was it? 9 total yards in the second half against them week 1.
Oh, that's true. But I think that was a little circumstantial, because I think Abe Lucas went down, Charles Cross went down. So there was a real drop off, like injury wise, and not having any plan to. It's week 1. They didn't have any plan to like what happens if 2 of your tackles go down. I'll give some grace, because historically, Sean has not been able to like shut down the offense. It's really just been these gaping open holes and receivers always open on their end. And so for whatever reason, we just are just befuddled. Like no one can figure out how to stop this Sean McVay offense. And if you're on the Pete Carroll staff, apparently.
Well, yeah. And here's another thing too, that I'm excited to see this game. Last game we went in there, our cornerbacks were Mike Jackson, Tariq Woolen, and Julian Love playing. Yeah. No, he was playing safety. Regardless, this is a completely
was it Trey Brown? Secondary. Was Trey Brown out there?
No, he was not. The only reason I remember that is because I saw a highlight of it the other day. It was Michael Jackson and Tariq Woolen. I was like, okay, well, that explains a lot.
Yeah, it does. And Tariq's not even Tariq's coming around, but he's not even had the strongest of years this year.
Oh, so that's no, he's not having the same years last year, but I definitely say he's definitely stepped it up from, I'd say he was out the Lions.
He had a really rough, I think, week 4, week 5.
Yeah, and he's definitely stepped it up a lot.
Yeah, he's been a lot better recently.
I mean, I take our 3 cornerbacks over any other trio of cornerbacks in the NFL. Agreed. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, so that's one thing I think they're going to have to deal with. They haven't seen Witherspoon at all. He's a weapon, which this guy on Colin Cowherd's show, it's that guy who shaved the Seahawks insignia into his head last year because we finished above 500.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yep. That guy.
He was going, boy, I'm worried about Devin Witherspoon. We haven't seen anything from Devin Witherspoon since that Monday night game. And I was like, this guy definitely looks at the final score. And he does. Dude, he's not even looking at Pro Football Focus grade. Yeah. I was actually pissed about that.
The stats.
Yeah. I was like, man, just watch this guy. So.
Like it's as simple as you want to know why you haven't seen much from Devin Witherspoon since the Monday Night Football game, because they haven't had a primetime game since the Monday Night Football game. Like that's literally it. Like you just haven't been watching. It's that simple.
That actually, like that irritated me hearing that.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear him say that. That's so annoying. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Joe, it looks like you owe somebody some money.
I don't. Yeah.
But anywho, man, I'm sorry, I'm distracted by that. That really throws me. I gotta go look up that video. That's insane. Did anybody like rebuttal him?
Everybody. So Dick Fane, he's a local radio guy. He reposted it. He was like watching on the TV and took a video of the guy saying, I can send it to you on Twitter afterwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And just everybody's like, what is this guy talking about?
That's insane. Because, like, honestly, I feel like I've heard more Devin Witherspoon hype than Jalen Carter hype. and that's probably because I know Carter's been injured. But I mean, Witherspoon's been balling out, so there's definitely that.
Yeah, every game. I mean, he makes
and then there's so many
Go ahead.
plays like he could have made, but like his stats could be so much better, but like other plays and fouls negated, the penalties negated his ability. Like the interception got taken back, a sack got taken back, and like
I forgot about that.
His numbers should be even better than what they actually are, but
Well, it's like just turn it on, just watch it. Just turn it on, watch him play. I mean, it's not even a numbers thing. This guy with the tip pass, first play of the game last week, I think against the Bengals, first play of the game, tip pass. I mean, they're just sending him off the edge on the first play of the game, which usually in the NFL, they play their base defense, first play of the game, kind of feeling each other out. Nope, let's send Witherspoon off on the edge, and it works. So do it again.
Yeah, it does. Like I want to see a ton of him at slot. I haven't really been watching the Rams though lately. Do you know if they've been, since Cooper Kupp has been back, if the slot guy has been Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I haven't watched much of the Rams at all.
Me, I'm wondering, because I'd love to see. I mean, I don't know who I'd rather see Witherspoon on, but he should be in the slot. Like I guess to guard either of those guys, because I think obviously they're going to try to attack in the middle again. I will say I'm encouraged by the fact that Jordan Brooks looks better in coverage. Jamal Adams is now good in coverage, but can't tackle. So that's weird.
Yeah, that's my thing. I had that written down. He can't tackle at all for some reason. And then, so I wrote that down. I wrote Jamal can't tackle, or Jamal doesn't wrap up. Where is it? And then, like I said, I was watching the condensed replay when I was taking these notes. And then the next play had an awesome, just like -2 yard, just wrap up and drop his hips. And I was like, I wrote in quotes, never mind. Yeah, it's like a 50-50 thing with Jamal. I don't know. Yeah. I don't get it. So.
Yeah, like I feel like this. I feel like it's probably one of those things where, you work on one of your biggest weaknesses in the off season, right? So like you can't cover. So like you work really hard on your coverage game and then you slip up on what you did great, to begin with. I feel like it's got to be that, because like nothing else makes sense. I feel like he must have worked all off season in his rehab and covering, because
I'm gonna knock on wood too. Like I'd rather have him be quiet like he's being than miss a few tackles and just not be a liability in coverage like he used to. But then again, they're playing him a little bit different, right? Because Love's in there a lot too. Right. And granted, Love started the season off really bad, and he's been another one of those guys where he hasn't been terrible in coverage either. Quandre Diggs has been kind of quiet. I mean, he's had a few like big hits and everything, a couple breakups, but I mean, I guess the hard thing is with Diggs too is a lot of the time he's playing that deep safety, and those guys covering on the outside and nickel are doing such a good job that I don't think we need Quandre as much as we did last season.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the scheme has changed, and so his role has changed. He's not around the ball nearly as much as he was, and they don't need him to be, like you said, they don't need him to be that interception guy. There's a point where all our interceptions were pretty much Quandre Diggs interceptions. Like no one else. Yeah, like before Tariq Woolen, it was just Quandre Diggs, and now you've got Witherspoon. You still got the threat of Woolen, and not that he's really had too many years, but he's kind of picked that up even in that regard lately. And so they just kind of put those guys in position to make those. But Trey Brown has been around the ball, so I just think they play their corners. Yeah, they play those corners more aggressively in coverage, and so we used to play the soft zone where Quandre could just swoop under and undercut somebody. He was the one that had the freedom to do that. Whereas now, and if you guys are going to be in man more often, which they have been playing man at least more frequently compared to they have historically, and so that's a big difference.
Well, yeah, and I think they trust these corners a lot more than they have in the past, because I mean, going into the season, I was like, okay, it's going to be Witherspoon and Woolen on the outside, and then Kobe Bryant playing nickel. I don't know if you saw, they can't even get Kobe Bryant off IR right now because they said there's just no spot for him.
Correct.
Which is a good thing to have. No, I think he'd be a starter somewhere else. Honestly, I think he'd be starting in the slot. I do.
No, he wouldn't.
Agree to disagree on that. I know we feel differently about Kobe Bryant, but he's talented enough to make a roster somewhere. But the fact that he
on the Rams,
okay, yeah, I mean, they have Ahkello Witherspoon starting as their like top-notch corner. So.
Yeah, like, there's some rosters. You're correct. Like he'd start, but he really is not good in the nickel. So I would love to see him at safety though. He's a good player. I like him a lot. Just love to see him at safety though.
Yeah, but there's no role for him on this team right now, barring injury. I mean, that secondary is not an issue. And then our defensive line is really helping out as far as last game. Boye Mafe stepping up 7 games in a row with a sack. He's only had 7 sacks on the season. So it's just like 1 sack a game, which is better than none. So, yeah,
I'll take that. I mean, that's we've never had a guy even be that consistent. So, yeah, you'd love the guy who can get 2-3 sacks in the game, but like, give me the guy who is consistent. Like,
yeah, every week. He plays the run. He plays the run.
The game. Yep.
Yeah,
and he's really good at applying pressure. So it's not just like he's just getting the sack and that's it. He is getting pressure, on a lot of these snaps. So he's still being a disruptive force. Even if he's not getting the sack, he may be helping somebody else get the pressure or what have you. And I think teams are starting to double team him a little bit more. So I like to see him still get that tackle with him getting a little bit more attention. I was a little worried about that, and we'll see how that plays out with tougher teams. But right now, you just love what you're getting from him. I didn't think he'd be this good, to be honest. I really did.
Me neither. I was kind of hyping him up in the preseason. Obviously, he looked awesome in the preseason, but look at who he was going against, and then he's been definitely lighting it up. Leonard Williams had his first sack last weekend, so that was sweet to see.
It was.
Yeah,
we haven't even talked since the trade, right?
No, we haven't talked since the Monday night game, I think, was the last time. So,
yeah. So, So I will say, what was your response to the trade?
I thought it was a move saying that we're ready to win the division this year. I don't think that a team that doesn't think they're ready to win the division this year makes that trade. I think they see the 49ers faltering and us trending upward before the Ravens game, where it went like the sky is falling after that. But I think before that game, it's like, okay, the 49ers are trending down. We're trending up. Let's do things to get better. And I think it did. I think it did make him better at the middle. So I don't have any complaints. I just wish he was locked up for more than half a season. So
I agree. I do agree with that, but we'll see what they do with that this offseason. But my favorite part about the Leonard Williams move, especially last week, is really when it showed up, was it allowed for them to play Draymond Jones at edge, which seems to be one of his better positions to play at. The Broncos played him quite a bit at edge, and that was one of his better years. And so that may be the spot for him. And you'd love to have Draymond Jones on the edge as opposed to your Darrell Taylors, your Derek Halls, who's still struggling. Frank Clark is giving you literally nothing since you've signed him.
I was like, I wrote down on there, I was like, why is Frank Clark in the game so much? Like, he shouldn't have that much. He was 50-50 with Derek Hall, I think, on snaps. Just from the eye. I'm not looking at like a website telling me the snap count or anything. But I was like,
look at the snap count.
I'm like, God, I think what's that?
It's too much. You're right. It's too many. It's too many snaps for him. He's done nothing to earn the snaps.
Yeah, maybe in practice. I don't know, but put him on, 3rd and 10, obvious passing situation. That's been my bitch with Frank Clark since he was a Seahawk before. Is the guy can't play the run. So why even have him out there during running downs? Just put him in there in 3rd and 7 and longer. That's when we need him on the field. But even then he hasn't been getting pressure to the quarterback. But maybe if we just try that. I'd like to see I like Derek Hall better than I like Frank Clark right now. So
I agree, because I think Derek Hall projects to be more well-rounded. I think he struggles sometimes and you see some rough things, but I think you see some rough things with Frank Clark. And I also, Hall can get better. I'd love to see Hall get around the same amount of snaps as Boye Mafe had. I mean, look what 1 year did for him, just playing a rotational role consistently, and then was able to really be a star the next year. And I know they're different players, but they're pretty similar in their games. Now, Boye was much more elite in run defense out of the gate. Like he came out of the gate being one of the best run defenders in the league. And I don't think that you expect that much from Derek Hall. But he's got to be better than Frank Clark and Darrell Taylor, because those guys don't even try.
I will tell you that I did see Darrell Taylor make like one good, actually maybe two good run stuffs during that game, good fits, and I was like, okay, not once from Frank Clark. I was like, man, why is this guy out here?
I will say Darrell Taylor looks better than he did last year on the run.
Oh, for sure.
Like that's been consistent from the tape. Like he's still a liability in the run game, but it's not to the point where they're picking on him to the point that it, completely takes away the point of defense.
He's not been that we bad. Can take away that Ravens game off, because that was such an off game for our run defense, but our run defense hasn't been the issue. Yeah,
for sure. And I do think the Ravens sort of attacked him in that way, but they attacked everybody.
Yeah,
at the same time too. So, yeah, I agree with you. I'm looking at the other games and I'm seeing still not good stuff. Like it's still well below average, but like I said, it's not the complete liability that it was before. Which I mean, I guess you'll take progress. Battery's on. But yeah, you'll take progress, man. But I like seeing Jones on the edge, because it gives you some balance and it gives your depth a lot more. It makes your depth make sense. You need somebody who can be well balanced in that regard. And I like seeing it, man. So if nothing else, I'm grateful to Leonard Williams for doing that and kind of buying us, I don't know, some depth in a place where we wouldn't normally have it, because, Uchenna has definitely missed. I mean, this run defense has not been the same. It was dominant. It was a dominant run defense before Uchenna went out, and you can just see his impact, even though they're not as bad as they were before. They are more, they're more susceptible to be run on.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Jay Reed's definitely picked up a lot of slack in this as far as our run defense. I feel like he's not talked about enough.
Him and Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby for sure. I feel like he's just back there and you're just like, oh yeah, that's just normal though. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's not as bad as it was last year. That's for sure. I don't like. I said this before the season. What are we going to be? 32nd? We were 31st in the run last year. So
yeah, I actually haven't looked up where we are on run defense. I think we're at average.
I wonder if you take that Ravens game out, because I know yards per carry, we were third in the league before that game.
Yeah,
yards per carry to a running back, because I think Dobbs got a couple big scrambles on us in the Arizona game, and so.
Agreed. So it's still an improvement. But it's you wish you had that to lean on, though. I think I miss having that to go, knowing that we can stop the run at any point and we're going to force teams to be one dimensional. I think is sort of, even defensively, they've had to adjust to that. Not like, okay, now we really do have to be more balanced as a defense because teams can run on us. But yeah, you're right. I do want to shout out Jaron Reed, though, because you're right. Like, he doesn't get the love. And I think it's just because initially early on, he was getting a lot of sacks, a lot of pressures, TFLs, that kind of thing. So it was more flashy. He was getting more attention, but he's still doing the little stuff that people questioned that he could do. And he's still got the upside of being able to give you pass rush or being able to disrupt this. And I think if you go watch the film, he's still getting pressure. It's just, it's not, he's not the guy that gets the sack as a result. But I can't be more blown away. Like, I questioned. I don't think I immediately doubted his ability to be known, but I questioned, could he be consistent with it, if nothing else, because of his size? But he's proven even that wrong. Like, he's blown it out of the water.
Yeah, and then another thing I did want to say about Leonard Williams is he's a lot more emotional than I thought he would. Like him jawing with people after the play, I was like, you know what, that's cool. Screw it. I'm cool with that. Our defense doing that. You know, you got Witherspoon, Jamal, and then now Leonard Williams, John with offensive linemen after the play. Let's make our presence felt, right? So I don't know. Show them that we're not here to be our friend.
Wasn't he the guy that got into it with? Was it Damian Lewis?
I think it was, or Phil Haynes. I don't remember, but yeah, it was that Giants game.
I went out. That doesn't surprise me at all because like we saw it already when we played them. Like he gets into it with those guys, which you love, like him, Jaron, having that kind of dog mentality. It's a good pairing, I think, and they need it. Like they need whatever juice they can get on defense. Now we just got to figure out how to get some. It's not juice that they lack on offense, is it? It's what are they missing?
Execution.
Yeah, like they got passion. I mean, DK is getting penalties left and right because he's fired up.
Not anymore. He seems like he's calmed down the last couple of games.
So what he's done, I saw NFL films. Somebody posted it. NFL, I think it was NFL posted it. Like, no, it was Seahawks. It was Seahawks page. So he's walking up to these refs and he's like, "Hey,
yes,
I'm on block to the whistle, to the end of the whistle." Like he's telling them like. Because he was saying that he wasn't hearing the whistle and they were getting him on his aggression. So now he's like talking to the refs ahead of time, being like, "Hey, I'm going to be aggressive in my blocking. Just be a heads up. Like, but when you call the whistle, like, I'll stop." So, like, I think that's helped him communicating with the refs ahead of time. I hope it stays that way because we can't afford any more stupid penalties.
Well, not even that. It wasn't just it wasn't just the blocking after the whistle. That was it. It was like the cheap shots on guys. I mean, I was always fine with Breno Giacomini doing that, but he was a left guard. You know, he's not a wide receiver.
Right.
So he can kind of get away with it a little bit more.
I respect it though. It's as annoying as it is. I still like low key respect it because
at least he cares. He cares. That's my thing.
Right. Yeah, and then people are like, trade him. I'm like, we just gonna just trade Pro Bowlers out here just because it's Tuesday. That's what bad teams do. Yeah.
I was pissed when people are like, "Oh, trade DK," and it's like, why? We're trying to win, right? Are we not trying to win?
Right. Like even if you don't feel like he gives you the production that he should, which is really Hall of Fame level production, if he's not like, if he's better than he is right now. Even if you don't feel like that, so what? Like, I mean, he's still giving you what, like 900 yards? Maybe it's not 1,000. Oh boy, he didn't give us 1,000. It's only 900. So you're gonna trade him? That's stupid.
How about that catch at the end of the game to set up the field goal? That was amazing. I mean, just the will. And you hear the announcer. Obviously, I didn't hear the announcer when I was there, but when I rewatch it, hear Mark Sanchez, get down. It's like, you know what? Let him do what he's got to do. That made him fighting for that extra yards made it from like a 54-yarder to a 43-yarder.
Correct.
So, and they spiked it. They could have spiked it with 7 seconds left.
Yeah, so. Like, no, he did the right thing because, I mean, based on your time and situation, I think Mark Sanchez is just freaking out, bro. Like, that's a panic moment. Like, there was enough time for them to get settled down and, like, that wasn't even a question, honestly. Like, chill out. The yards, I think, was much more important, especially because you never know what you're going to get from Myers, to be honest. So,
well, 5 for 5 last game. But I know sometimes, you know, but last game, he won NFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
We are grateful. We'll take it. We'll take what we can get, especially in these odd years. We'll take what we can get from him. For sure. But he has been doing really well lately.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he hit the game winner. Well, he hit 5. He hit 5 field goals last week. So,
knocking on wood, because
yeah.
Didn't want to jinx that.
I kind of like how they're getting Jackson Smith and Jigba involved a little bit more. It's been nice. He's had a couple drops the last 2 weeks. I don't know if you remember that one on 3rd down against the Ravens, and then he had one on the bubble screen last week.
Yeah.
But you can kind of see how they're wanting him to be used, and that's, you know, pick up a first down when you need it, which is awesome when you have 3 of those guys. When you have 3 of those guys that can pick up a first down, whenever you need it. We have Lockett, DK, and JSN. And then, I don't know. I like that they're utilizing him a little bit more.
I do. I'm a little disappointed though. Like one of his main touts was being sure-handed, and so like I'm a little frustrated that that's an issue with this guy. Like he was pretty much the number one wide receiver because everybody's like, yeah, sure hands. Like he didn't drop a single pass in training camp, and so he was hyped up to be that, like more than just college, all training camp, all pre. Like he didn't drop a pass, and then he gets to the real thing, and then like that seems to be his issue. So I do love that they're using him more. I do think it would be a waste to not try to incorporate him. So absolutely, but I do. It's frustrating at times just because at this point you need to do what's best for the team, and honestly, your tight end sets work more effectively. Are those blown plays worth the development? Sometimes. I think it depends on the situation.
That screen pass against the Browns, to win the game, that was awesome. And then I think he had another one in that game that gained like 12, 15 yards. And then, I don't know, he seems like he's fitting in a little bit more. Like I don't think they're trying to force him the ball whatsoever.
No.
But it seems like he's fitting in a lot more.
It's just when he gets it, I expect him to catch it. It's rookie, but I do. He was a rookie that came in, and that was your strength. So like, catch the ball, guy.
Room for growth. For sure. Hopefully 4 more years. 4 more years.
I love to see progress when he gets the ball these last few weeks for him not to drop it. Like I would that would be like, or I don't maybe have one drop. Maybe it's unrealistic, but to really see him get better about being consistent when the ball comes his way, because that would help him, I think, even get a larger role. It's hard for them to give him a larger role if, he's not catching the ball consistently. But I do love the screen games. A great point you brought up. Seeing successful screens on the Seahawks makes me cry. Happy.
And how about the screens to Disley? They've had a couple to tight ends too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this isn't the Seahawks. What are we doing? We can't complete these.
Yeah. I completely agree. So we got a couple people in chat. What's up, Sajan? Got a great question from Carcast for now to talk. How is Charles Cross looking coming back?
What do you think? I think he's looked decent. I think there was one play last game where I forget. I don't know. He hasn't been a liability, in my opinion. Obviously, the Ravens game, all 5 of them were liabilities. Yeah. So you can't just be like, oh, Cross sucked that game because all 5 of them sucked. So,
yeah, he's not met my expectations. He's underperformed, in my opinion. Like he's not been bad, but I also don't think he's been good. A little too many penalties for my taste. I think he holds up okay in pass coverage, and I've seen even a little bit of progression with him in the run offense and like in pass block. Run blocking. He's done a little bit better with that even, so that's good to see. But there are still just some situations that I just feel like he gets beat so quick off the edge that I really worry about him long term in terms of the elite guys. Can he really be the left tackle, the franchise left tackle? And I know he's younger than most when they're drafted, so I do want to keep that in mind. But I'm on the fence about if he can really be that franchise left tackle that we were hoping he could be. Still some questions there, and still quite a bit of things for him to clean up for him to prove he can be that.
Yeah, and then I don't know. Jason Peters looked great last game. That was weird. He played like 2/3 of the snaps. I mean, there was this one. It was that 4th down play. No, it wasn't the 4th. It was one of the Charbonnet runs. Speaking of Charbonnet, maybe feed that guy the ball a little bit more.
For sure.
Jason Peters had an awesome block, and I'm like, man, this guy's 41 years old. He was also the last one to the ball when they spiked it, and I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. He's 41 years old, weighs like 900 pounds, but
right. I agree, but no, he's been surprised. I think he'll be up and down though. I wouldn't expect him to look that good against
Peters.
Peters.
Well, he shouldn't. After this game, I think Lucas will be back.
I don't think so.
Really? You don't think he's going to be back for the Thursday game?
No, they haven't practiced him full yet, so he's been limited in practice. And everything that Pete says when he's asked about him tends to want to calm the waters. I think they want to test to see how he does. I'd be really surprised if after not doing any training camp really, and after only playing a half of football in week 1, that they would just put him in without having a full practice. So I didn't check out the latest injury report on Friday to see if he was a full participant today. I can check that out real quick, but I would just let me check out the injury report really quick because that will help. But so I wasn't expecting him to do. Yeah, I think he's out. Corbin Smith just tweeted he's out.
He's like out for the game. I didn't expect him to play this game.
Oh wait, let's see. No. He's not officially out. He's questionable. I think that he must be projecting. He must be projecting that. That's strange. He said in Anthony Bradford out. Abraham Lucas, but the official report. Oh no, okay. So Pete Carroll. So even though he says questionable on the injury report, I think Pete Carroll indicated that Abraham Lucas got through the week okay, but that he won't be playing on Sunday. So
okay,
yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. I sort of. With him being on IR that long, they're rarely going to rush a guy back. Like, it doesn't matter how important they feel like he is. They tend to be conservative with those type of situations. So, like, Jamal practiced for 4 weeks before he actually got on the field. So, they're going to probably rub him up for the big games. So you'll see.
Well, that's why I was thinking maybe Thanksgiving against the 49ers he'll be back.
I think that'd be my guess.
But even if not, he'll be back for Dallas, I'm assuming, at that point, because then that's 2 weeks. I don't know. It's a rough stretch coming up. And if our offense doesn't make strides, or at least look like they did in the second half, because, I mean, let's be honest, the offense in the second half, they look pretty damn good, especially that Charbonnet. Slippery. He was very slippery.
Big fan of Charbonnet, and I really am frustrated they don't use him more because he is the more efficient back. I love Ken Walker and for what he can do, but they should at least be getting close to equal carries, and it's not even close. Like, I don't like how many more carries K9 is getting than Zach Charbonnet, and when they get the offense struggles when they don't have a run game going. When they can get a run game going, it makes all the difference for the offense. It's so strange to be saying this for a Pete Carroll team, but my God, run the ball.
Yeah, Geno dropped back 47 times last game. And usually that's not success for a Seahawks win. Usually that means we got blown out. So, I don't know. How healthy is our O-line?
Question for Zajan, how healthy is our O-line really? I think they're coming around. I think they're almost about as healthy as they can get. They're just missing the one guy. They're missing Abe Lucas. That would really help solidify things. Again, knock on wood. But so far, so good. Abe Lucas is not officially not going to play this Sunday. I would expect him to play Thursday. I think they're saving him up for that, especially with the short turnaround. I think they're choosing, right? Like they're not going to bring a guy off IR and play him in both games. So they're giving him that extra time. Playing when they need those guys in the trenches. That's a tough test back though. Like that's tough. But I think he's up to the task. I think Lucas is for sure the better tackle between him and Cross, no question. Like not even close. I think Lucas, if he was healthy, could maybe not quite Pro Bowl, but I think he could push for a case at least.
Well, we'll see. They also ask, does our O-line fit Charbonnet better than K9? No. So what I noticed with that is if Kenneth Walker just put his foot in the ground and cut up field like Charbonnet has, Kenneth Walker is awesome. But when he dances around in the backfield and there's no hole, like, dude, take your 1 yard. Don't take your negative 2 yard loss. That's the only thing I can't stand about Walker lately. So it feels like he's dancing around too much in the backfield, where it seems like Charbonnet is trying to put his foot in the ground.
And it's not even just like a ton of dancing. A lot of times it's just 1 or 2 steps, right? It's just the wasted movement that if you had to just hit the hole, you would have gotten the yards. You would have probably gotten 3 yards because he's got power to him. It's not like he's a purely finesse back. He can truck a dude or at least
for sure.
So
for sure. It just seems like he's doing too many stutter steps.
He's always looking for the home run, I think, and it doesn't always have to be a big play. And I don't know if he'll ever get that out of his game. But that's why you have Charbonnet. And so I agree, especially because I think K9 works better with zone blocking. And your substitution guys, you don't have a ton of movement guys. Damian Lewis, not a big movement guy. Evan Brown is okay. But for sure, you don't want Jason Peters moving around too much. 41-year-old Jason Peters, like moving too much and movement. Like you gotta get the guy. And so Charbonnet, that fits his style. Like I said, he's more efficient overall. He doesn't have the vision to make do with nothing, but he can make a lot with a little. I think that's the difference between them. K9 can make nothing something. And I don't think Charbonnet can do that. But if you give him a little wiggle, he'll be able to get to 3 yards, I think, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been a big fan of Charbonnet. I feel like he's really putting his foot in the ground and going. And then Kenneth Walker's you see Kenneth Walker do it about 2-3 times a game where he really puts his foot down and explodes through the hole. And then other times you're like, what are you doing back there? Because it's like, dude, just go straight, just go. So yep. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you'd be less frustrated with Charbonnet. I'm sorry, with K9 if they play Charbonnet more, to be honest. It'd be less frustrating because like they do this long stretches of playing K9 where like sub him out. Like, you can rotate dudes. Like he can get a break. Let him get some water.
Well, sometimes I feel like they rotate him at the wrong time too. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
I agree.
Or just me. It's like sometimes Kenneth Walker's back there and Charbonnet's kind of on a roll, right? And you're like, and they put Kenneth Walker back in there and he gets like no yards. You're like, dude, just keep Charbonnet. Or vice versa. If K9's doing really good and then they'll put Charbonnet back there. Thank God I haven't seen DJ Dallas touch the ball even except for punt returns.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. Is 25 back yet, McIntosh?
He is, but similar situation as Kobe Bryant. They say they don't have the space for him on the roster. They just don't have the guts to bench Dallas. You can play him. You could play him over Dallas. They just won't. Every time
that Dallas even touches the ball when there's a punt, I'm like, don't drop it. Don't drop it. I'm like, just get out of the way. Let that thing roll to the 1 yard line. I don't even care. Just don't touch that ball.
McIntosh is healthy, but we're not going to see him unless somebody's injured. And I would hope that somebody would be DJ Dallas, to be honest. I'm sorry to wish that on him. But they should just play K-Mac over DJ Dallas. I mean, the guy's going to be gone next year anyway. You're not re-signing DJ. They better not re-sign DJ Dallas. That's not how you waste your funds.
They probably will.
No, why did you draft McIntosh?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm getting upset thinking about it.
I can't stand DJ Dallas. I don't think I ever have. Like, even when he makes a big play, I'm not gonna lie, when he hurt his shoulder last game, I was at what game was that when he hurt his shoulder?
It wasn't the Ravens game, was it? Was it Browns?
I think it was the Browns game because I remember being there and I go, oh no, not DJ Dallas. Somebody looked at me like I was a giant asshole, but I just go, oh no, not DJ Dallas.
Right. I agree with you. Okay. All right. So as we get ready to wrap this up, we should have actually spent more time on the Rams game. So Sorry. No, I forgot. Like we got away from just talking Seahawks. So, looking at the Rams game, can they win this? Can they break the curse of Sean McVay owning the Seahawks? And can this team pull this out? And if so, how?
Oh, we can win this.
Will we win it?
I think we can. I think we can. I think it's going to be a close one. For one, we need Geno to be accurate.
Yes.
We need him. Not even, he doesn't have to be, I'm trying to think of the most accurate quarterback of all time, but he doesn't have to be that guy.
Tom Brady.
Mainly don't turn the ball over.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? If it's not there, just get it away. And also, if there's 7 seconds left to go, in the first half, maybe don't just like throw it on the ground. That was one of the ugliest plays I've ever seen was last week.
Seriously.
Also, need the run game to be effective, okay?
Mhm.
And then our secondary, knock on wood, I am not too concerned about them. It's more getting to the quarterback, which I heard the Rams O-line is not very good. So on paper, we should have this game totally handled. But I think it really comes down to our offense and how accurate Geno is.
I think it comes down to the defense. Will Pete Carroll adjust? Will he stop playing these freaking soft zones against the team that knows how to utilize them the most? Please stop, Pete.
Well, I think we've seen less of that lately, though.
Lately, but it didn't see it in week 1, and it killed them. Yeah, and maybe that's because they didn't put any effort into planning against this team. That's possible, but if they would play, I agree. We've seen progress. We've seen more aggressive coverage. We've seen not consistently, but we've seen them do what we've seen them be more aggressive with blitzes, even to apply pressure, and they've done a pretty good job about that. Where we are now, I think, average in terms of blitz rate, where we used to always be like bottom 5. So that's been a big deal. I don't want to be blitz city, but average blitzing is where I want to be. Breaking in, alternating your coverage, disguising some of your coverage, looking like you're going in the zone, doing some man. That's the kind of things we need to see. Make it different. Make Matt Stafford have to think. We never make him have to think. And honestly, I think the game is won or lost. Well, no, the offense has been so bad that I actually have to talk about offense. Okay, that's a big portion.
Let's carry over the second half of last game, and let's just hope that's a new normal. But one thing that I'd like to see the defensive backs do this game is just, press them at the line.
Yep.
Press them at the line and trust that the cornerbacks aren't going to get burnt over the top, because it seemed like last game they were playing that. Well, we're not letting them beat us over the top.
Yes.
5-6 yards every play. You're like, okay, maybe let them beat you over the top one time. See what? Try it.
Not the end of the world. Probably just one play.
It looks like Quentin Dunbar out there. Play every corner playing against the Rams last time. You remember?
I do. I can't.
Every play 10 yards off the ball. Every play.
Or Trey Flowers.
You know what's sad is. You know what's sad about Trey Flowers is he was promising his rookie year, and then after his rookie year, he was nothing. You're like, dude, what happened to this guy? So
who knows? Who knows really? But it really was like watching Trey Flowers on our defense. It was really bad. So if they can fix that, it goes a long way to winning this game. And then your offense just has to. I agree with you. I don't want to be talking about Geno at the end of this game. I really don't. I would like to be talking about, because for me, this is a Pete Carroll legacy game. I've been watching Pete all year. How he plays defense this year goes, in my opinion, really far on if I want him to stay or not. It's just been frustrating having a defensive coach that can't coach defense. So if he can prove he can coach an adequate defense, then I want him to stay, because I love Pete. But this is a big part of that. You cannot have a team in your division, whether they're great or whether they're bottom of the barrel in the league, and you can't beat them. You'll never get to the top like that. You never win a Super Bowl like that. You need to be able to conquer people in the division. That's how the division is won. That's how playoff games are won. And you can't afford to continue to get owned by Sean McVay, especially when his team looks like this. I got it a couple of years ago. Now you got to beat them. Would love to just talk about him, Shane Waldron's strategy. I agree with you. Run game would be very important. They run the ball, play action. Geno's accurate. Defense plays like they have been playing as of late, and they don't completely change their strategy just because of Sean McVay. Then I think they win. But they got to do it. And we haven't seen a lot of either of those things. We haven't seen a lot of Pete Carroll be able to play aggressive coverage against the Rams. And we haven't seen a lot of Geno not being able to turn the ball over. And also not a lot of Charbonnet running. So these are all things, if they're serious about winning the next gauntlet, I think this will be how they play. I'm looking at strategy. Yes, score matters. but like how they play against the Rams, to me, will dictate if you got a chance against the others. Because if you can't adjust for the Rams, then just roll in the L's. Like, just go ahead and roll all 4 weeks.
And that's what's frustrating is this is a must-win game for the Seahawks, and I don't say that very often, but you look at their upcoming opponents, you don't want to be 6-4 going into those next 4 games. 7-3 seems fine. Realistically, we should be 7-2 right now. That Bengals game was so frustrating.
Yeah, it was.
With our defense in the second half, holding Burrow to 43 total passing yards in the second half, and you don't win that game. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
But that was a month ago. But anyways, this is a must win. So we gotta have it.
Agreed. Do you got a prediction?
31-28 Hawks.
Nice.
Actually, can I change it?
Yeah.
31-24 Hawks.
I think I'm gonna go 24-17. And I feel confident that Geno can put up 31 points consistently. Like, no.
Okay.
I'd love to see it, though. Would love to see it, but he's lost that trust in me. I used to trust him to do that. 4 weeks ago, I would have thrown it out there as a score, but I'm scared he's going to throw a pick.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We have to win. I mean, we absolutely have to win. If not, we're going to start looking at mock drafts.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right, Joe, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
I think that's it. So thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No, of course. I really appreciate you hopping on. Always great talking Hawks with you, checking in. So next time I'll hop on yours. Anyway, Joe, why don't you tell them where they can find you, and then I'll take us on out of here.
Oh, yeah, just Seahawk Talk, no spaces, Joe Stevens on YouTube, and Joe Stevens 39 on Twitter.
Yep. Be sure to give him a like and a follow, subscribe to his channel. Also, while you're subscribing, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Ethos page at Ethos Seahawks. Also, you can, if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification button so you get updates on when we go live. Anyway, that is all the time we have for today. That's it. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.